Okay, hello, hi everyone. Welcome to another live stream. So today we're looking at grammar, and I want to do something a little bit different from what I've done before in these grammar lessons. So I'm going to try and control it a bit more tightly, and I'm hoping that that will allow me to give you some better advice and some better support. So normally, when we are doing, when we're focusing on writing, like we're looking at task 1 or task 2, I'm giving you feedback. I'm explaining, what mistakes you're making. I'll correct your grammar for you, but I don't really get to go into it in that much detail. So, I'm saying this is wrong, but maybe you don't understand why it's wrong. So the goal today is to kind of get you to do a bit of writing where we can perhaps discover a few mistakes that you're making. And then once I start to explain what type of mistake you're making, you'll be able to focus on fixing that or explaining why it's wrong to help you kind of get a better understanding of, why your mistakes are wrong, or understanding why they're wrong, to help you improve your grammar score. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lar Ryan and I'm the founder of Complete Test Success. I've been teaching IELTS since 2010. I've been an examiner for writing and speaking. And yeah, I've helped hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of students at this stage to achieve their scores. So yeah, let's jump in. Let's have a look at this here today. Now I'm focusing on, I took a task 1 question from the general training test, just to give us something to talk about, whether you're doing task 1 whether you're doing academic or general training IELTS, doesn't really matter. I'm going to just use this kind of as the basis of what we will use for today's lesson. So the plan is this. I'm going to write up some basic sentences. Now, you've probably heard me say this before, where there's a very strong connection between range of grammar and accuracy of grammar. And if you go too far one way, like, if you're in the test and you're trying to get the highest score possible by using as wide a range as possible, you end up having a lower accuracy and a lower score because of that. You can go the other way around, where you focus completely on accuracy and then you end up with a really low range. So I'm going to write a few sentences as if I'm that student, where I'm going like, okay, I don't care about range. I'm just trying to make sure I have no mistakes, as accurate as possible. And then I'm going to get you guys to upgrade my sentences. Okay, so let's say I'm responding to the first prompt. Describe the appliance you purchased. Okay, so let's say something like this. I bought an appliance. I bought it in your shop. The appliance is a kettle. It is a nice kettle. The kettle is grey. The kettle is made by ABC company. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to rewrite that, but try to rewrite it in 1 sentence. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sentences there. What I want you to do is see if you can write that all in 1 sentence. And then what that will hopefully do is that will kind of get us to discover some mistakes that you're making. And from that, then, of course, the goal is to help you to improve your scores. Okay, so I want you to rewrite the highlighted text in 1 sentence. So that's the task I have for you at the moment. Okay, rewrite the highlighted text in 1 sentence. All right, so what I feel like should happen is you'll probably make some mistakes that you didn't realize you were going to make. And, with that, that's the information we will use to help you improve your grammar. Okay, so I'm going to stay quiet for a minute or two. I want you to rewrite those sentences into one sentence. And then, share it with me in the comments, and I'll be able to give you some feedback on that. Hi, Sakobidin. No, we're not working on task 2, but we're not working on task 1 either. I'm not actually focusing on task 1 today. I'm just using that task 1 question just to give me kind of something to write about. But the main focus today is grammar. Okay, so we're looking at grammar today. So whether you're doing general training or academic IELTS, that doesn't matter. We're just learning about grammar today. So don't worry too much about which type of the test that question is. Task 1, general training, don't worry about that. That won't affect today's lesson. So either way, whether you're doing general training or academic IELTS, we're only looking at the grammar today. So just rewrite the highlighted text in one sentence. Share it with me in the comments. And then, if you're making mistakes, I'll be able to point out what those are and explain why they're wrong. And, just all around giving you some grammar guidance. Hi, Sakobidin. Yeah, so I do lessons on task 2 as well. So like every week I have a live stream and I focus on a different part of the test. If you need help urgently and you cannot wait until the next task 2 live stream, I do one-on-one lessons with students. I have courses, and I provide students with one-on-one support as well. If you look at the links in the video description, you'll see the links to my course. So if you're unable to wait until my next live stream and work on it together in that, feel free to reach out. I'll be able to show you what courses would be suitable for you, and I'll be able to give you more hands-on one-on-one support with task 2. But if you're not in a rush, it'll probably be in maybe another 6 or 7 weeks. We'll be looking at task 2 again here in the live streams. But right now we're looking at grammar. We're looking at grammar today. So jump in, rewrite those sentences there, and like I said, I'll be able to give you some feedback. Okay, numbers are very low today as well. We normally have a few students involved, but for some reason today the numbers are down, which might mean that we won't stay live. By we, I mean me, if I'm on my own. I won't be staying live for too long. What I'll do is I'll just kind of guide you through this a little bit by myself. Okay, so I purchased an appliance in your shop that is a kettle colored gray and made by ABC Company. You haven't included all of the information, so you're missing the information. Nice. So you've got a lot of it, but we want all the information, so don't drop anything. Rewrite the highlighted text where you're only using where all the information is still there. So that one nice is missing. Although, you know what? Let me grab that. Let me take what you've written. Let's see what mistakes you've made. Okay. All right, so here's your attempt at rewriting this. Okay, I purchased an appliance in your shop that is a kettle. So we don't have relative pronoun like this. because in your shop that is a kettle. When you put the word that here, what you're talking about is whatever's next to the word that. You've put that next to the word shop. So when you say in your shop that is a kettle, you're saying that the shop is a kettle, not that the appliance is a kettle. Okay. So if we want that to be accurate, that is a kettle needs to be next to the word appliance because you're describing an appliance. So I purchased an appliance that is, and it's a kettle. How many kettles? It's one kettle. So that's an article mistake. So I purchased an appliance that is a kettle in your shop. Colored gray. Now, when it's like you're starting a new clause here. So what's going to happen is the verb is going to carry over. So it's going to be that is, so an appliance that is a kettle, and colored gray. An appliance that is a kettle and colored gray. Oh, so we need that colored gray next to the description of the kettle. More likely, we're just going to say a gray kettle rather than putting that information somewhere else. More logically, that's going to go there. And made by ABC company. Now, when we have the word and, there are two situations. So let me write a more simple sentence just to explain it to you. Let's say I went to the shop. I went to the shop and I bought an apple. Okay. So we can see here I have subject plus verb plus object and subject plus verb plus object. So they're two independent sentences. So when I have and is followed by subject plus verb plus object, that's an independent clause and I need the comma. So because I have the word I here, I have a subject. That means that I need to have the comma before and. But let me recolor that. That's a little bit difficult to look at. 1 second now. Do something a bit lighter. Okay, but if I write it like this, I went to the shop and bought an apple. This time there's no subject after the word and. So it's not independent. So if to understand that second clause, bought an apple, it doesn't make sense on its own. I actually need the I from the first sentence to help me understand the second part of the sentence. So because this is a dependent clause, there is no comma before the word and. So bringing that back up to what we have here, this is the same mistake that you're making. And made by ABC company. Okay. So we're going to go like that. Now, this is still problematic because made by ABC company, oh, you need a full stop at the end. So there's another mistake. Made by ABC company is going to be a description of the kettle as well. So we're more likely to say a gray ABC kettle rather than that. Okay, so you can see the better your grammar gets, the more information you're packing into a small number of words. And now one more thing. We're very unlikely to say, I bought an appliance that is a kettle. So for your coherence and cohesion, that's not very natural. You're not going to say, I bought an appliance that is a kettle. You're just going to say, I bought a kettle. So more naturally is going to be, I bought a gray ABC kettle in your shop. Now, we're missing a nice gray ABC kettle in your shop. And is there anything missing? The appliance is a kettle. It's a nice kettle. The kettle is gray. The kettle is made by that. So what you'll find then is, and this is quite typical, where the better someone's grammar is, the more dense the sentence is with information. So instead of needing to write, what's this? 31 words, I've packed the same amount of information into just 10 words. And that's a big difference in terms of, how fully you can develop an idea. Like the better your grammar is, the more you're packing in, the more complex the structures are. But also for coherence and cohesion. Like for coherence and cohesion, saying I bought, the appliance is, it is, the kettle is, like that's really bad for your coherence and cohesion as well, where you're just repeating the same things over and over again. That's bad for your coherence and cohesion score. So it's not just problematic with the grammar, but the coherence and cohesion score would be low as well. Okay, so you can see all of that there. You can see the issues. If you have any questions about my feedback, please feel free to let me know. Okay, and then we have Viet Pham. And okay, let me just copy yours, and I'll take a look as well. All right, so here's your one. If I go to the shop, well, that's completely different meaning. So in this sentence, we're saying it already happened, and now you're imagining it happening. So that's a bigger problem again. So if you're making grammar mistakes where the grammar is inaccurate, but the meaning is clear, that's a problem. But if you're making grammar mistakes where the meaning is completely different from what you're trying to say, that's an even bigger problem. And that's where you start pushing yourself down into like band 5 and lower. So when I look at that sentence, if I go to the shop, I will buy a kettle. So in that situation, it looks like a good sentence structure, but if it doesn't mean what you're trying to say, that's going to cause confusion, and that's going to be problematic. If I go to the shop, I will buy a kettle, and I'll also buy a pen. Yep. So you would need a comma before that, but it's not natural. More natural would be I'll buy a kettle and a pan. So if that was the sentence, it wouldn't be two clauses. It wouldn't be one clause for the kettle and one clause for the pan. That would just be one in one go. I'll buy a kettle and a pan. Would be far more natural. Okay, so I'm going to do one more round of this. Let's see if you can kind of do a little bit more in terms of the accuracy and better with the coherence and cohesion this time. So again, I'm going to write another few sentences. So let's say the kettle arrived at my house. I opened the box. The kettle, the box had no lead. Or let's say no plug. No plug. I can't use the kettle. It won't work without the plug. The box was damaged. Okay, that's enough. So there are lots of little bits and pieces here. So again, what I want you to do is rewrite that highlighted sentence in your own words, but rearrange it. Don't just follow the same organization of you're going to talk about this thing first and that thing second and that thing third. You don't need your sentence to deliver the information in the same order as I've written it. Put it in an order that makes sense. So not just thinking about your grammar, but thinking about coherence and cohesion, where there isn't repetition. You're not delivering information in the wrong order. You're not using relative pronouns that are referring to a thing that you're not talking about. So feel free to rewrite it completely, trying to do it all in one sentence. And what? Trying to do it all in one sentence. And I can't remember what I was going to say. But yeah, rewrite all of that in one sentence. Okay, so I'll just give you 1 more minute to finish this. So 1 more minute left. And then I'll get you to share what you've written. Okay. So if you finished writing one, share it with me, and I'll give you some feedback. In the meantime, I'm going to write my own version of this. Okay, so the kettle arrived at my house. Okay, so that's fine. The kettle arrived at my house. I opened the box. The box had no plug. The kettle arrived at my house, and when I opened the box, I saw that there was no plug. Okay. I can't use the kettle. Okay. Which means that I can't use the kettle. It won't work without the plug. I think that's pretty redundant. There's no plug, which means I can't use it. That's already there. So that was repetition. We wouldn't need that. The box was damaged. Okay, so the kettle arrived at my house, and the box was damaged. And when I opened, and we're not going to say the box again, the box was damaged, and when I opened it, I saw that there was no plug, which means that I can't use the kettle. That's repetition as well. Better off to say it. Okay, the kettle arrived at my house, and the box was damaged. So I'm after using "and" twice here, so that's not great. So let's go like this. When the kettle arrived at my house, the box was damaged, and after, I don't want to use when again. When the kettle arrived at my house, the box was damaged, and after I opened it, I saw there was no plug, which means that I can't use it. Okay, so that's everything there, nicely packaged into one sentence. And obviously, we're using when to create a complex structure here, after to create a complex structure here, which to create another clause here. So we end up with a nice complex sentence with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clauses within that, and only one conjunction. So that's obviously a good quality sentence in terms of your grammar score. So like that would be considered very good with the level of complexity there. Okay, so let's have a look at your work. So first I have la la la. Hi la la la. Good to see you here again. So let me just paste that in here. So the kettle arrived at my house, but the box was damaged, and when I opened it, there wasn't a plug. And as a result, I prefer just to use. So as a result, I can't use the kettle because it won't work without the plug. Yep. So we could even delete that last bit, because you're after already saying as a result there wasn't a plug, and the result of that is that you can't use the kettle. So you don't need to go because that. You've already said it in the beginning. I know you're just following what I wrote here. It won't work without the plug. I see why you're doing it. So it's just unnecessary. So overall, that was actually a very, very good attempt. You have all the information there. It's clear. The grammar is very accurate. So that's actually a really, really good response there. Good job. Okay, and I have one more here by VitFam, so we'll take a look at this as well. The box was damaged when it arrived at my house because the kettle inside had no plug. No, those would be two different problems. So it's the box wasn't damaged because there was no plug. Those are two different things. So the box was damaged when it arrived at my house, and not because, and the kettle inside had no plug, without which it won't work. Yeah, good. Without which it won't work. I think more naturally would just be so it won't work. I think would be more natural than without which, even though without which is grammatically correct. You needed the comma before without, but grammatically it was correct. But I think more naturally would just be to use so in that case. But again, a very good job. Very well written response. Okay, so let me see. Have I missed anybody? Sir, is this practice for IELTS General? No. What I was trying to do is I was just using the general question as a way to generate the ideas I wanted to use to construct those sentences in yellow. But no, what we were focusing on today is grammar. I think I'm going to leave it at that today, guys. If anyone has questions, jump in there quickly and let me know what questions you have. I'll answer them. But we don't have many students here. And what we see, the quality of the work that you're producing is actually really, really good. So those of you who are participating, your grammar is obviously very strong already. So, we turned what would be like a band 4 into band 8s and band 9s there with, the complexity, the complexity, like you're using complex sentence structures, you're using them accurately, it's clear, you're not overusing any language or any cohesive devices or any relative pronouns within the sentences. So the range is good as well. So yeah, really, really good. Hi Jazz, good to see you here. Okay, so it doesn't seem like any of you guys have questions, which is fine. We'll leave it at that for today. I think maybe next time we'll work around a task 2 question. I think there was some confusion. I think there was some confusion today when you guys saw the task 1 general training question. It seemed like that kind of confused some people as to what was going on. Thanks, sir. I'm practicing for IELTS Academic. I had a chance to do a speaking mock test with you before, and I got a band 8 in speaking. Fantastic. Well done. Fantastic news. Very good. Congratulations. I got a 8.5 for listening. Any tips? Get a band 9. So with listening, you just have to figure out what's going wrong. So obviously you've made mistakes. Do some practice tests at home. Try and figure out what those mistakes are. Once you know what the mistakes are, you can start fixing them. But before that, there's no way to improve. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm going to finish up there. If any of you guys need one-on-one support, if you're interested in joining my courses or using my correction services, reach out. That's my email address, lar@completetestsuccess.com, and you'll find links for my services in the video description.